Earth is spinning, the amount of centrifugal force will decrease as you leave the equator and venture towards the north or south poles. Now, what else should happen? Things should weigh more as you leave the equator, but what we don't see in reality is things weighing more as you go towards the equator, or things weighing less as you go towards the North Pole. And then they love to bring up how, but if you remove all the air particles in a vacuum, the bowling ball and the feather fall at the same rate. Well, of course they did. What do you expect them to fall at? They only should fall at different rates if mass is important, and mass is important on the globe Earth model with the gravity theory. So the fact they fall at the same rate and there's no horizontal gravitational attraction between the bowling ball and the feather in a vacuum, we only see things dropped. So I repeat, that's a vain religious superstition for what's keeping you on your spinning ball Earth when in fact the Earth is stationary. So earlier you spoke about the sun and how it doesn't go into a little dot when it's disappearing on the horizon. My friend, let me educate you about something called glare. It is well known that when a light of any kind shines through a dense medium, it appears larger or gives off a greater glare. So at any given distance when it is seen through a light. So what's happening is, I'm reading from Samuel Rowbotham's book. There's a chapter called The Cause of the Sun Appearing Larger When Rising and Setting Than at Noonday. It's very explainable on a flat Earth. I don't know if you've never ran into anyone who's told you about glare or the fact that there's air around us, but the air around us does things to things, especially lights. And the more air the light has to shine through, especially the sun, which is 10 miles wide, it actually increases in size. So let me see if there's anything I missed. You said, we know the sun's 93 million miles away, but I don't know, have you ever seen crepuscular rays? All the rays are converging to one central point above the Earth. So we don't witness parallel rays. That's another contrivance of the heliocentric priesthood that, we have this massive ball sun that gravity attracts Earth to, and we go around in the solar system, and there's lots of other planets, and we're going to go there too. So also the horizon rising to eye level, when the gentleman on the Red Bull jump opened the capsule, the horizon was not only flat at 120,000 feet, the horizon was at eye level with the gentleman in the Red Bull jump. So just some things I wanted to bring up for discussion. Hopefully that brought up some new thoughts for you, Red, but I look forward to what you got to say about all that.
Okay. Hey, Reg, do you want to do more of just pick one particular thing that he has touched upon and have just a free form go back and forth as you see fit on a topic that you want to address specifically?
We could. I could just do all of them real quick and we can see which one.
Okay.
Okay, perfect. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and address this thing one by one. So let's go ahead and take the motion of the sphere, which I'm going to argue is irrelevant. I can prove that very simply. Take a ball. It's a ball, right? Put it on the table. Is it moving? No. Is it still a ball? Yes. So why the hell is this an argument? The motion of that ball is irrelevant to whether or not it is a ball. So yes, I can go ahead and ignore that bit entirely. Let's move on. Yes, they are saying what it is by sea level, but I'm 6'6". My eye is never going to be at sea level. I have a tripod that's taller than I am. It's also not going to be at sea level.
You can't lay down or get in the water, Red? Really?
My eye, this is my turn to speak. Okay. My eye is never going to be at sea level, and laying down and standing up.
Not even if you're in the water, Red? I'm sorry.
This is my turn to speak.
That is so ridiculous.
Nathan, we'll give you a chance
to say you're never going to be at sea level.
Nathan, we'll give you a chance.
This is my turn to speak.
Yeah, go ahead, Ned.
You could lay down on the earth.
This is my turn to speak.
Hang on, Reds, I got it.
This is my turn to speak.
Go ahead, Red. You'll never be at sea level.
Nathan, we'll have plenty of chance to do a rebuttal. Trust me. I mean, he's not over-talking you. He's not interrupting you. Please have the same courtesy and respect towards him. So let him finish his presentation on this, his argumentation, and his rebuttal, and then you can do the exact same thing. Okay? So, Reg, go ahead and finish, and then he can address what he was trying to say.
Yeah.
Thank you. And so what I was going to say is that while it's not impossible to make your observations lying on your... that's not going to always happen every single time. And yes, I've seen many flat earthers go out to the beach and do this observation. I don't see any of them doing this observation while lying flat on their face. So maybe we should invent a new rule. If you're a flat earther that wants to do observations of objects disappearing below the horizon, make sure you do that observation lying flat on your face. And until other people start following that rule, I have every right to call them hypocrites. Next, moving on. So the rotation and centrifugal force. You said that the Earth is spinning at 1,000 miles an hour at the equator, that gravity will either have to be so strong that it will crush you at the poles, or it's going to fling you right off into space. Okay, well, that is very, very good. Very good. Okay, well, the problem with that is that, and I am going to be screen sharing right here, I did kind of debunk that shit on September 8th of 2015. Went through the math. I'm sure you're a smart dude. You know the mathematics as well as I do. You know Newton. You know what equation is by Newton. You also know how to calculate for centrifugal force. And F equals m2 times r times the product of 4 pi to the second over t to the second, t being time, of course. And we see that the difference would be 2.35 newtons. And what does that mean for the overall picture as far as your weight at the equator? Of 0.346%. Let me repeat that one more time. 0.346%. So no, you are not going to be flung off or crushed at the poles or flung off at the equator. It's not going to happen because we're dealing with a weight difference of 0.3%. If I weighed 150 pounds at the poles, I'll probably weigh 149 point whatever at the equator. Whoop-de-fucking-do. Moving on, let's go ahead and see what else we got here. Because I got a list. Okay, next we have terminal velocity. If we're dealing with a rate of 9.8 meters per second square, why isn't it that things keep falling at a faster and faster rate? Why does terminal velocity exist? That's because of air resistance, my friends. Eventually, you will hit a point where the resistance of the air balances the pull of gravity. And that balancing point for a human at around, doing a fucking swan dive out of an airplane, around 125 miles per hour, I've been told. So air resistance is the reason why there is terminal velocity. And that is why objects fall at different rates between, let's say, a feather and a bowling ball, not in a vacuum. Now, you mentioned that they do, in fact, fall at the same rate, which is great, but I want to know why they fall on your model. If gravity is not a thing and has simply been this bullshit story conjured up by heliocentric priests, I want to know what it actually is. What exactly is gravity? What causes those objects to fall? And if it's not the atmosphere, because they're in a vacuum, put any directional influence on the objects that are falling, why is it that they choose to fall in the same direction and at the same exact rate? Please tell me why that is the case, good sir, because I, to this day, have yet to hear one single answer on what the hell it actually is. Next, corpuscular rays. Yes, I have heard about corpuscular rays, good sir. Not exactly ignorant, but according to your argument and according to your logic, that must mean that these train tracks are converging in the distance and are not parallel the entire way. So keep in mind that if we're using, corpuscular rays as evidence that the sun is close, then that must mean that the endpoint of these tracks must be really close, all things considered. Parallel lines moving away from you are going to look like they converge in the distance. That is called the law of perspective. Law of perspective, once again, alpha equals 2 times the arc of g over 2r. Basically, oversimplified, it means as you're going to get further away, the trains are going to look like they're touching. Same thing with the rays. Just because the sun rays look like they are not parallel doesn't mean they aren't parallel. And so with that, I relinquish the rest of my time.
Okay, go ahead, Nathan. Go ahead. Now you can respond to Red's there.
Yeah, sorry for interrupting you, Red. I just thought that was rather ridiculous to assume you would never be at sea level. As if sea level was some unattainable height. That was great. And I love how you talk about lying face first. Who does science lying flat on their face? I don't get it. But that was good. You could always lay on your side or something like that, or just get in the water. But all right, cool. So I just don't understand how the entire ball Earth model is based on all this purported movements of the Earth spin and the Earth around the sun. And you ask, a globe earther to prove all of that, and he says it doesn't matter. It's a ball. So I don't understand, how you don't think movement is important. But one of the things that's interesting to me is that the movement's never been detected. Coriolis effect is in fact very real on spinning balls. If the Earth were in fact a globe, the Coriolis effect would be manifested. But in fact, planes that fly north and south don't adjust for their flight paths to account for any Coriolis effect. Hot air balloons that leave the Earth don't experience the Earth moving under them because of an alleged Coriolis effect. Quarterbacks, when they throw a football, don't adjust for the spin of the Earth because of an alleged Coriolis effect. So the Earth is stationary. I've seen no evidence to the contrary, and the fact that the entire globe Earth model is the fact that everything's moving, but you just dismiss it and say that's not part of the argument. I don't need to defend that. I just think it's kind of immature, kind of ignorant, kind of naive. So I want to hear what your best proof of movement of the Earth is and its alleged rotation around the sun, but also the sun's movement through space at 450,000 miles an hour, and then tie that into your stationary North Star and Southern Star for me, please.
Well, I don't. Real quick, if I may, I think that deals more with the heliocentric model than a flat Earth model.
It's the geocentric versus the heliocentric model. I mean, if you guys want to talk about the shape of the Earth, let's just only talk about the shape of the Earth. But I mean, it's the model. I mean, why would we talk about the whole model? Because it's the whole model that's so ridiculous.
Reg, do you want to address that, and then I'm going to turn it over to Kyle for a few.
Well, here's the thing. The fact is that when I came in on this, I came in to discuss the shape of the Earth, not the movement of the Earth or even the movement of the sun. All right, all the evidence that I point to is pointing to the shape of the Earth, not its movement. He did bring up movement, to ask, well, if the Earth is spinning, why not this? So I decided to answer it real quick, but that's not what I'm here for. I'm here to look for evidence on how people can be so sure that the Earth is flat, or how people can be so sure that the Earth is round. Movement be damned. As I said earlier in this debate, if you take a ball and throw it, it's a round ball that's moving. If you put the ball on the table and have it not move, it's still round. Motion is irrelevant in that case. If you're going to tell me otherwise, then please explain to me how that works.
We're talking about the globe Earth model versus the flat Earth model, Red. Your globe's alleged to be moving. Like, how do you not get that?
My globe is also alleged to have a rounded shape, and that's the only thing that I'm considering important, at least for this debate.
Your first proof was talking about the movement of the sun and how that proves we're on a round Earth.
Yeah, because the sun can actually tell us a lot about the shape of the Earth that you're standing on.
Yeah, so can the fact that it's not moving, and there's no proof that it's moving.
Oh, really? So we know.
You know what's funny is you already brought up gravity. If you can't prove the Earth moves, what the hell are we even talking about gravity for, bro?
The reason why I brought up gravity is to debunk your claim that, level, flat, and this, that, and all the other stuff, and also bring up the sound wave thing.
Red, gravity is the reason things fall on your model. It doesn't have anything to do with curving water or anything. It's the reasons why you drop things and you're allegedly, they don't fly off the spinning ball Earth. But
and
gravity, not only has it not been proven, it doesn't make flat things curved. So my argument is that water is flat, and you bringing up gravity has nothing to do with flat water, bro.
And that's why I brought it up, because you're so ignorant on the topic that you don't understand that gravity actually does come into play when we're talking about water curving over a ball. Because the fact that matters is that the pull of gravity curves with the Earth. If you have water on that surface, it will also curve with the Earth because water finds its level, as you admitted to. So if water finds its level, and level is defined as that being proportional with the pull of gravity, and the pull of gravity is curving with the Earth, the end result is that we have water curving. And if water is curving, we should be able to see it, which Soundly did at the Lake Pontchartrain, and this is why there's a metabunk for it. You can actually go to Lake Pontchartrain yourself with a P900, and Soundly, I know, would be happy to provide one to you, and you can see this for yourself.
You have done that experiment yourself, so how do you know for a fact I can go there and do that? And hey, buddy, lakes aren't curving, so all the frozen lakes in Russia are 300 miles long, and they're totally flat. Are you saying that Lake Pontchartrain in Louisiana is the only lake that curves? Because that's not visible on anything else. Any other lake or any other body of water, there's bridges in China that are 102 miles, they're missing